Start, we open our NetBeans, and I'm gonna start with a little bit of review of the class, what it is. I'm gonna show you also. So we got a new project. It's Java application. Next, we're gonna call this let's say week 6 or whatever you want to call it, and we want a main for this one. Finished. Wait to the project created. Here we go. Adjust the size, hold the control button down, scroll in. I think that is reasonable for you guys. I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller, maybe. Here we go. I think this is good to go. Back of the class. Can you see? Yeah? Sure? Or you don't care? Either or. Okay. So this is my week six class with the main. Before I start, because I need my rectangle class, which is I created last week, I'm gonna quickly create the rectangle class. So that's what I'm gonna do. I am gonna go to my package, right click on it, and go new and Java class. So let's do that. Let's finish it. Here we go. So this is another class inside the same package called rectangle. So we learned each class based on your UML. It has parameters. If you recall, we had length, width, and we can even add more. So let's say we have parameters for the class, which is usually private. So let's go integer, I guess. Wait up. Let me see what I did last week. I don't want to change it. Here we go. Let's go integer, and we had width, and we have length. So these are the parameters of your class, the type, and the privacy of it. Let's add another one. Let's improve our class a little so we can have more parameters. Let's call this string and name. So let's say each rectangle has a name if you want. Remember, when you print it out, it was hard to differentiate what is what. So we're gonna give them a name. When we print it, you can see what name is it. Easy peasy. All right. So this is what it is. You need a constructor. What is a constructor? Well, it creates or constructs an object out of this class. One of the significant of the constructor is it has the same name as the class. So guess what? Like where we did all this typing and everything last week, we gone through it one by one. You can right click here and you can go to, where is it? Insert code. And it gives you all the option there is. You can insert. So constructor is the first one. You can do that and say I want a constructor for this 3 parameters as just defined right here. So you generate, boom, it's all done. So we did this before. This is shadowing. So this is link the width, the input width as a local variable to the parameters width using this keyword. So this is a shadowing, so it links that one to this. The point of that was, if you recall, we used W and then say width equals to W, but that was like too many variables that we have to keep in our mind. So right now for each parameters we have one local variable which comes from the user when you create the object, and we just link it with that. So the keyword this is shadowing. Before we used to do this, have another type, so we gotta do W, then width equals to W. That was like previous one. Now we're using shadowing because now we have 2 variables, right? There's one parameter, there's one variable. That's confusing. It's too much of it. So now we're gonna do this. So these are the same name, so I know what is go to what. However, one is parameters, one is local variable. As mentioned, you can overpopulate basically method or constructor, so you can have more of that. Let's say I want to have another one. We call this one rectangle. It's a little bit early still in the morning. There we go. This one doesn't get any input, and what I did was I'm gonna use this, and I'm gonna go 1 1, and we're gonna call this a default. How do you write default? Default. So we call this a default rectangle. So whenever we call this constructor with no input, you're gonna set the width and length to 1 and name it default. You can have more of that. We did this get the string input and convert it using parse methods. We're not gonna do that. Let's go have another one again. And then we're gonna have integer width. This gonna type. I can use the function, but this is easy. So this is just get the length and width, no names, old-fashioned, the old method we have, and we're just gonna, I think a typo again. This my L is kind of soft here. Here we go. So we're gonna use shadowing. So this width equals to width, and this length equals to length, and for the name, alright, so if you can take a look. So the generic rectangle has the name generic, but just accept length and width with no name. You see, I didn't use the shadowing here, and by default, the program understands this is a parameters. That's why it's green. So use this to differentiate between a local variable here and the parameters here. Which one is which that program understands. You can use this here also. Doesn't really change the fact. Here we go. The same thing. Alright, so you can have more than one constructor. We're going to use all of it. So for when you create your object after using constructor, you should be able to read and or print or do whatever you need to do with those parameters. Let's say you set it with 7, 3, and you want to either change it or print it or whatever it is. There is methods called as getters and setters. We did this before. So the get method goes get the parameters value and show it to you, and set will set the parameters with a new value. Okay, we did all that. Program actually generated for us if you need. So I'm gonna right click again, teach you how lazy work works. Here we go, insert code. So you can go getters and setters. And if you do that, I'm going to do it for all the parameters I have, because I want the user access those parameters after they create the object. Here we go. And the get one, go get the width, return the parameters. Whenever you call this, set, get the width, set it to the width. Same thing goes with the length. And now I have the name. So these are really common, get and set. You'll see them on your UML all the time. Usually help you to manipulate your parameters as we go. So it's a control environment, right? The class is a control environment. You can't really do whatever you want unless using the method. You can actually make those public, and don't have all of those, so everyone can access it directly. So it's up to you what you do here. We're gonna have another one. What was that? The get. So it was get area, which basically what it does, return length multiplied with, right? So we did something like that, more or less, last week. Also, I create the static method means you can access this method directly without creating any object. So these are the methods that you can't really use unless you create the object out of this class. If you want to use any of those methods or any method that you write in this class without creating the object, using the word keyword static. So we're gonna create a display because I don't wanna. And as I mentioned, that method can accept object also instead of variable. So this method accepts object from the class rectangle. Let's call it R. So this is like a dummy name as a local variable for this object. Here we go. So in this one, I simply just print out let's do this. Let's be a little bit funky. So we're gonna go that. We're gonna go R dot. Let's go get name. So we're gonna get the name. What am I doing? Here we go. Boom. Then we're gonna. So we print the name. And we're gonna go this, the width is, or just do that, I guess. And we're gonna get all those parameters out. So here we go. What am I doing? Length, right? So get length. And last but not least, the area. Alright, so this is what we did. This is chapter 5 and 6 together. And now let's go back to our week 6, the main class here, and try to generate some objects, see everything's worked before I move forward to chapter 7. Or basically arrays. Alright. So here, in order to generate object, you're gonna call the class, name that object, let's say rec1 equals to, so you use the keyword new, you call it constructor, and which one you call, there is 3 options here. It tells you rectangle, which is your generic one, there's no input, the width and length would be 1. So we can do that. We can let's use all of them. Also, I can have 5 and 6, and I can have rectangle rec3. So the first one is the default, with the size of 1 and 1. The second one is, so this is the default constructor. The other one we're using the generic one, so the name is generic. So I don't need to, I don't need to name it, I'm just using that. And the third one, I'm just gonna and this one I'm gonna call it the room we are. So we are in room 205. Let's say this is a rectangle in some sort. There we go. And let's go see all those parameters, see everything works properly. So I'm gonna call my class again because I'm having a static method here called display. We're just gonna call that, and we're gonna print rect1. I'm gonna do a little bit of lazy work. So copy paste rect2, and guess what, rect3, and see everything's working. I'm gonna need this class today because I'm gonna create the array list, and you can kind of throw an object in it. So that's why I created it. Alright, so I'm gonna run that. I don't see anything yet. Here we go. So this is what we created. We have the default, which is a size 1, 1, and obviously area is 1. This is using this guy here. And we have our generic, which is the 5 and 6, area 30. And then we have our room 205, which is, that's what it is. Alright, so let's now start the concept of the basically array. So today we're gonna cover array and array list. So what is the array? Not bad, huh? Yeah, so it's a collection of similar data. So what are they? So let's find out how you define those. So we have variables integer a, let's say 5, we had that before, and then let's say we have like 20 variables, and you're gonna just go one by one and define it, and they're the same integer. So you can simply, instead of that, you can go and declare like that. So this brackets here basically associated with array. So let's say we have arrays members, codes, scores. So let's say you have a bunch of scores, bunch of codes, bunch of members. In the type of integer, you can, this is 3 different arrays. So let's start with the like basic one. So that's one of the way you declare an array in Java. The other way is like that. Let's say you have float. We call this members. So there's 2 ways of doing this. Members 1, let's say, because it's the same name. Then you have your bracket afterwards. So this is declaring an array named member, in this case member 1, and that's about it. So you can, there's 2 ways of declaration. So there's either that, so you type brackets members or name, or type names brackets. So you can flip these 2, doesn't matter, it's bi-directional in a sense when you do this. You can also use a class to do this, like a class format. So you're gonna go integer, you can do that too. Array, so we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna say new integer, let's say 3. So in that case, the 2 first ones just declaring that I need an array, right? This one you're declaring an array, named array. So that's a little bit confusing. Let's just make that R, like a pirate, R. All right. Name. Okay, declaring array name R, which can hold 3 members, right? So that 3 tells me it can hold 3 members. So how do you print an array? So that's another question. Let's say, so I have the array R. If I do that, what am I gonna see? Yeah, so it tells you the memory location of it. So if you run that, so this gives you the memory location. Where is this array stored? Is anything in it yet or not? So let's say has a 3 spot here, so this would be 3 placeholder. There's something called an index. Index, this is confusing for people that never did programming, but you guys have some sort of background about this. The index is start from 0. So this is the index 0. This is the index 1. And this is the index 2. So the cell number and index, they're one behind. There's a lag in there, let's say. So if I ask you what's the index of the third cell, you will tell me it's 2. So in that case, this is the index 0, this is the index 1, and this is the index 2. Total of 3 cells I have. So let's say in order to see what's in the first cell, you should do this. So you're going to call the array and use your brackets, and you say, okay, so this is the first cell. You're calling the index, so you point out to the first cell. So it's 1 behind. So what do I see right now? 0, I guess. Let's try it. Oh, is that running already? There we go. 0. So this tells me a couple of things. I never actually filled this array. It's just an empty array with 3 placeholder, which is the index 0, 1, 2, and there's nothing in it. That also tells me Java by default, if you never declare something, but you never assign a value to that variable or even array, they by default just put 0. So if I ask you a question somehow that says, okay, what's the value of that? Is it garbage? Is it 0? You're gonna select 0. So Java does that. Not all the program does. Java throws 0 there. So how do I can assign something to it? Simple. So you can go array, R0. So you call the index. You fill this first cell with, let's say, number 3. Let's fill it up. So now I have an array. Let's say I put values into those cells. So here would be 3, that would be 4, and would be 5. Can I do this? So this is another mistake people do. So if you do that, so the problem is people think this is, I put 3 here, you can also put 3 there. Now, so this is an index. When you put index 3 means your array has 4 cells, which is that's not the case. So this is gonna be out of range. So if you run this, you're probably gonna get the error somehow. Here we go. So let's read that. So it build failed because of that. Line 38. Guess what? Here we go. So you can't really do that. So you can go up to the index. So the index is equal to size minus 1. So if you want an index of the cell 2, the index is 1. Cell 1, index would be 0. So everything starts from 0. Okay. So let me comment that out. I don't want to error. So how do you print those contexts? Exactly. One way is now I am going to print those one by one. So that's one way. So we're going to go error 0. Let's do a little bit of lazy work. One and 2. Can do that. In that case, we're going to have our 3, 4, and 5. This is initially 0 because we printed here, so let me just get rid of that also. Or there's a better way to do this. Since, let's say I have an array of 50, that's not helping me out. You can go through the array using your for loop or counted control loop. So let's do that. Print things out using that. So we're gonna just have a separator because I'm just printing a bunch of numbers, and that's not really robust in a sense. So here we go. So that separate them. So if you want to do the same thing, you can simply, let's go back here and just use your for loop. Let's go with the classic one first. And we're gonna, that's why this is a start from the 0, because usually for loop, whenever you use a for loop, you're kind of dealing with the index, and the index usually start from the 0. So we're gonna go from 0 all the way to 10. 10 is not good. We're gonna get this, yeah, so we're gonna get the length of the array, the size. So we're gonna go all the way up to 3, right? So index would be 0, 1, 2 in order to print that. However, if I change the array to 4 and do any modification to the array, I have to go change that one. The way to find the size of the array, you can call it and use the function length. Or the parameter length, sorry. It's not the function. So this tells you the length of the array. So in that case, it's 3. So we're going to start from 0, go 1, 2, not the 3 itself because it's not equal to, and that's what it is. And then just gonna print the array I. So in that case, we can do that, or we can like maybe do this. This is, looks better. So we're gonna go array plus. Okay, so we close that plus I. I think that looks better at least. What am I doing? Here we go. Then we're gonna go array, so plus array. Alright, so I'm just printing with the index as we go, like that. So this is a loop, doing it for 2 times, 3 times, whatever it is. Here we go. So this is an array with the index 0. You have 3 there, 4 there, and 5 there. So you can use this loop. There is better loop to do this. If you just want to go, loops are, you can manipulate them, or you kind of set the size, you gotta find the length, gotta be careful where's your index start, all that. There is a better way, call it enhanced loop. So if that is trouble, which is the classic way of doing it, something called enhanced loop. So let's say I want to go through the example I just made, the array, and get those members, add them up, and get the average. So there's an array with a bunch of numbers, in this case 3. I want to add them up and get the average. So I'm going to use the enhanced loop. Well, how the enhanced loop works is, let's start with a declaration of that sum. So we're going to have an integer sum. We set that to 0. Note that anytime you want to get the average or sum, declare it and set that to 0. This is one of the things is annoying. If you don't do that, when you try to go through the loop, it gives you some sort of error. So when you're dealing, adding, averaging, always set it to 0. Get a habit of it. So now I'm gonna have an enhanced loop here. So we're gonna go for, and instead of doing all that crazy things on the top, I'm gonna have a dummy variable, same type as my array. So we're gonna call this var, and you do this column, and just name of the array you want to go through. So in this case, is there. So what it is one by one goes to this array, take the first location, and next time I'm gonna go take the second, say store it as a var, then the third, and go all the way through it. So this is called an enhanced loop. So let's see it actually works. Then we're gonna move forward and get the sum. So if you go here and print out the var. So first time you go through this, it would be 3, 4, and 5. So this is enhanced version of the top one we have. Here we go. See, you have it right there. So now let's get the sum of it. How about that? So sum, every time I go, I'm gonna go sum equals plus equal to var So every time I go, I'll take the first one, add it to the sum, go to the next one, store it as a var, then I add it to the sum, and when I'm done this, I'm out of the loop. We're just gonna print the sum is alright. So how do I get the average? Any idea? Yeah, so average is basically your sum divided by length of your array. So in this case, it's 3. Think that works? I don't know. Try that. Here we go. So you have 3, 4, and 5. This is 9, 12. The average is 4. Makes sense. So this is using enhanced loop. In programs like Java, you have 2 type. In many programs like script languages, there's one type. That one is already robust. You don't need to do another one. I think one of the things I made a mistake is this. You make sure you make one of those AA, because the average might give you a double or float. This is one of the things we're gonna pay attention to, because otherwise it gives us a logic error. So we're gonna turn that to the double, then divided by 3. Your array can have more than one dimension, right? 2-dimensional. Let's do that. All right. So what that even means? So you can have think it as a board. Let's say like a chessboard. You can have those cells. So you have X and Y, row or column, and there's a location of each. So if you have an integer, now we have 2 dimensions. So you're gonna have 2 of those. So this is an array. Call it board. Let's call it board. Make it easy. So you have 2 dimensions. You can go all the way to 10 or whatever. Like there's no limit to this. There is a limit, but as far as your memory lets you do this. But so let's stick with 2 that everyone understand. So the first bracket is basically, you see, it gives me an error right away. What is the error? You have to declare the size, right? Array dimension missing. This is the constructor which takes the array dimension. So what are those? So the first one is row, and the second one is column. One other thing, when you're declaring this, you have to at least initiate the number of row when you're declaring 2 dimension. So let's put 3 here. So you'll need the number of row when you're declaring. You can't later say, okay, number of column I'm gonna declare it later, or just give it to the system later. But this is mandatory when you declaring it. Is important. Let's make something like 5 and 5. So this has 5 row, or let's go with something like easier because I want to show you stuff. So 3 and 3. That means you have a 2D array. Let me just do that. This is multiple line. It's easier to do that. So this is an array that the index is 0, 1, 2, and 3. Sorry. Let's make that 5. 4. Right, and here also 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what 5 and 5 mean. So if you want this cell here, like you go 2 and 2, and you have the location of this. So this is also the best way to print it. Alright, in order to, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna fill this area. So it's 5 by 5. It's an empty array with a bunch of zeros. I'm gonna fill it with a number, then I'm gonna print it. For more than, guess what? If you have more than one dimension, you need more than one loop to go through this. So we're gonna go to our nested loops. So let's have one here. So we're gonna have one loop here for. I'm gonna use that. So this is my loop, and I'm gonna have another one. Go classic one. So this is one inside another. So I'm gonna fill it up. So the trick part is, how do I get the length? Same thing as you did. So you're gonna go board dot length. So this is gives me the length. What gives me the row or column? Which one? Row. That's what you need to define. So this is a row, and so this is for my rows, and this is for, how do you do the column? So you're gonna go, every time you go through the top one, so this is an I incrementing, so 0, 1, 2, and every time you enter that row, then you can say, okay, go to that row and get the length now. Guess what? If you have one other dimension, let's say 3 dimension, you have that like this. We can do that, but it's confusing. So here we go. So let me just fill it up. I am going to just do it. Just gonna add those up. I think that's the closest that it gets. I am going to let's print it as well. So I'll fill it up and print it, and it might give you the idea of what is this. We're not gonna do the line here because I want to print it. Let's show what it is. Let's maybe space it out too. And here, every time we just need 2 lines separated. Alright, so give me a second. I think that should work. Let me take a look. So it should visualize the 2D. Here we go. I think that's the best way to go. As you can see, these are your columns. So this is the index 0, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and this is your row 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is the index of row and column, obviously. And if you want this guy to call it, you basically what you do, you call this guy. So this is row 2 and column 2. So row 2 and column 2, I just add them up. So it's 4. So guess what? If you want this guy, see this guy, that would be 3 and 3. This guy, if you want, I don't know. This guy would be 0 and 4. Let's try. So let's say I just want to individually print those. I am going to print. So my board. So if I do 2 and 3, what would I see? Any ideas? I see 5. As you go 2, so it's 0, 1, 2, and then you go 0, 1, 2, 3, and you see get that value. So it's like a board. If you want to understand this, you should make that 3-dimension. If you understand 3-dimension, 2-dimension is like easy. Alright, so let's print it properly also, that you guys have the code later and have the better idea. I am going to use the same loop. So let's call this M and N, because I have I and I do the same thing as I did, and I print all the members and see how that works. So this is gonna be N, and we're gonna do board dot length, and here we're gonna do board M.
You can use
I and J.
instead of M and
Yeah, let's just
it's not confusing.
like just override that.
Because it's like a local.
Yeah. It's an old habit of mine. In some programs, it's just you store it separately, especially the statistic programs and such. It's just an old habit of mine. Yeah, I can do that. Why not? Whatever makes you happy. Okay, now that would be I now. So that would be J. There we go. So now let's just print that. We're gonna print this, see what's in it. So we're gonna go board. Hopefully that helps you understand. Oh, I'm using the I now again. Alright, so in that case, I print the context of the board. So here I'm filling it up using 2 arrays. So we're just adding those locations to create something like this. Printing the space between those, that kind of creates some nice board. And every time I finish a row, I go to the next line here. That's what it does. This is print along. Here I'm just printing it with the location of index, so you guys can see what is going on. Here we go. So each of these, so this is 0 and 0, gives you this value. So this is row in with index 1 and index 0. So basically that is the second row, first column. So that's what you're gonna understand. So second row, which is 0. Okay, 1 and 2, second row, first column, which is 1. Where is it go? Go play around with this, get the idea. You want to break now, or should I continue? Who's tired? Okay, continue. Apparently democracy doesn't work. Alright, I'm gonna teach this next concept, then I'll take you a break. I'll wait till before ArrayList. Maybe I just leave the ArrayList for the next week or something, or the week after, because we are ahead of the scheduling. So how do you copy an array? The next concept is how do we copy? So copying an array is not as simple like says this is equals to that, right? So let's say I have an integer array, call it array1, And in that case, I can, by the way, fill it up right away using the curly brackets. So I'm gonna put values in it. I don't need to declare it first, and I'll fill it up. If I know what it is, I'm just gonna fill it with 10, 20, 30, and 40. So in that case, oh, do I have it before?
No. Select in a bracket.
Oh, yeah. Why did I? Okay, so yeah, so this is the array. So now I'm gonna have the same, the other one, and this is what's gonna be integer array 2, and this guy I'm just gonna declare a new integer array. Sorry, and so we're gonna put 4. We need 4 locations to hold all those 4 numbers. So one of them is empty, the other one is filled with numbers. So I want to copy array 1 to array 2. We can't simply go array 2 equals to array 1. That doesn't work. We need a loop to go through this. In order to copy, you're going to copy one by one, member by member.
Is there any clone?
Okay, so we can use our loop. So we're gonna go to our array 1 by 1 dot length, and what you do, you just go array 2, your index I equals to so you assign each cell's location with that. So that's how you copy. You're gonna go do member by member, and let's just use the enhanced loop to see that actually this copy happens. So we're gonna go for here we go. Let's call it dummy array 1. So we're gonna print that, see. We're gonna print dummy here. So this is the context of array 1. I'm just gonna copy that and paste it here, and that's for array 2. So you have to, oh, let me have a separator. Maybe I shouldn't print this line, so just gonna do that and a little bit of space maybe. Alright, so in that case, oh yeah, this is gonna go away. Here we go. That will fix it. So this is your array 1 and this is array 2. So you copy that one by one using this. So you're gonna go through it. Take the first member, copy to the first. So first index to the first index, basically. Now I should stop here. Let's take a break. Come back and either we continue and figure it out. Alright, so let's get back to this. So a couple of people mentioned there's an easier way of copying the array. It is. Basically there's a bunch of methods, including clone and all that you can do this copying. But at the end of the day, the point here is copying an array. You copy one member, one basically cell to another. So one index 0 to index 0 of the empty array and such. So it's not like an easy just copy. It's just one by one, and there's a lot of methods that actually do the same thing. So what we did here is we copying one by one here using this loop. Let's go discover more different kind of array. So this time I'm just gonna go and declaring a string array. So now we're gonna do this is see how the string arrays works. So let's declare one of those. It's fairly simple. Let's go, type would be string, and then we're gonna name it names. Let's put some names in it. Say my name, Tony. Let's say Robert. Here we go. So this is a string array. It's pretty much the same. Instead of holding some sort of integer or float or number, let's say, just having a string in it. So printing it is the same thing. If I want to print my name, I'm just gonna go names and we call the index, which is index 0, and in that case I will see my name. Oh, I see an error. Where's I gonna fix that? Let's see what it is. It seems I'm missing a parenthesis here. Where is? Oh yeah, I deleted or comment some lines, so that should fix my problem. So this is for my class, this is for my main. All good. Yeah, so here we go, same rules. It's going like that. However, if you recall, we covered strings. There is some sort of methods that helps you out. So when you go names, this is what it follows the array rules. As soon as you enter the array, so I'm entering the cell, and in the cell is my name, which is I just printed out, then you can actually have access to all these useful methods there is. You can actually use the character at if you want to get the first character. So in that case, you're just gonna print h. So this is what we used before. It goes to the string and pick the index of the string. So if I put here 0, so this goes to the array called name, get the first cell context, which is a sum. Now you're having a string. That means all the methods you know manipulating string is available to you. So when you go dot, there's a bunch of them. This is character at, and we're gonna go and get the first letter. So in that case, you're just gonna see an H. Let's go get. So let's see you guys understood this. So if I do name 1 and 3, what would I see? Any ideas? No, no S, no. Why? So you go to this array names, index 1, so this is index 0, this is index 1, so you take the Tony, now you go in there and you start 0, 1, 2, and 3. So it's gonna be out of range, obviously, or maybe like just garbage. I think it says doesn't give you an error, it gives you some sort of no, this error. Yeah. So this is out of range, right? You can use other methods also. You can go names, let's say 0, and dot, let's say to uppercase. So this guy, make that uppercase. Here we go. So the point is, when you select the specific location or index of your array, when you enter, you are into the string concept, and all these strings methods that's available to you. All right. So cover another things. Apparently I'm outside of the scope. Yeah, so it's gonna go open it up. So next topic would be something called ArrayList. So it's commented up. So array lists are the arrays, and are dynamics. And has more capability in compared to arrays. So let's define one and see what it is. Defining it is a little bit tricky that there is compared to the array. So you're gonna go array list now. Guess what? For using array list, you're gonna import the array list. We're just gonna go ahead and import it. You can't really just write. You're gonna go actually import two important, go all the way here, and here you're just gonna import two important library here. So we're gonna import Java from the utility belt. So there would be arrays if you need to know, and let's do arrays and array lists. Okay, so we import those that we can use those. Go back all the way down, and here where is it? Oh, we did a lot of code so far. 140. All right, so now we can use our array list here. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna write the name and the type we wanna cover. It's really useful if you have an array list of the strings or even object. I mean, it's really handy when you want to create the list out of the object or string using array list. It's more beneficial than you just using them. First of all, you can't really throw a number in there. So array list cannot be an integer, float, or anything. So array list specifically dealing with objects or strings. There's a way to do that. It's called boxing and unboxing. If you need to do it, if you need to get the number and use it in the array list, you're gonna box it and unbox it. We cover it after the. Maybe I should do it now. I don't know. So let's start with a string. And so what I'm gonna do, you're gonna have this angle brackets, which is you write the type inside and then you name it. Let's say name list, because I'm gonna do the same thing, having the names in the list. You're gonna go new array list, and you do string, and you add the parentheses here. The array list is dynamic, but you can also reserve some size. If you want to have a size, you can put 10, 15, or whatever. If you don't, so let me just comment that.
You can remove the last string.
Yeah, they updated after Java 7, I guess. Yeah, that's classically. Yeah, I know. We can remove that, but
Diamond syntax.
it actually mention in your slides also, this is not customary because they removed it, but yeah, that's true. You leave this empty, means your list is dynamic. Means it can be flexible. But default capacity has to have some sort of default capacity, right? For array lists. So here when I'm declaring an array list of string, name it name list. That means basically I'm holding a memory. There's array list with a 10 location or 10 capability, holding 10 strings in it by default. Okay, sorry, I just lost track of this. All right, so let's add stuff to it. Adding and removing is really easy, so let's just call the name. So name list. There are a bunch of methods to use for it. It's really friendly. So let's go add, and I'm gonna just add my name. So by default, let's add two names. There we go. Close to the workup. All right. So if I print nameless, what would I see? All right. Is that memory? No, you see the whole thing. So this is another benefit of it. In arrays, when you call the name of it, it just shows the memory location. But in array list, you just show the list. So how do I get, since this is dynamic, right? So since array list is dynamic, it's really crucial to get the size all the time because it's changed the size. Right now the size is 2, right? If I add another one, it would be 3. So if I add another name, let's say Neymar, go Brazilian today. Well, yeah, Roberto Carlos is my favorite.
Correct.
No?
And like instead of
His name, like that.
Okay.
This is the new. That's Neymar Junior, I guess. Here we go. Now it's correct, right? So how you write Junior? Hey, no Brazilian name is correct. You guys like have long names and just like this is like a short form. So yeah. The funniest name, just a parenthesis, was the Pele name. Like the whole name is like Roberto. I forgot the name. I used to know that when I was a teen. Yeah, like the whole. It was like show off kind of thing. So now, if I add the other one, which is I just did, here we go. You have all 3. So that tells you the size is dynamic. So it stretches as we add stuff in it.
What happens if you put like 5?
You limit it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're exceeding it.
Yeah.
Let's put like 3.
No, just more than 5.
All right.
That's it.
Oh, you want to see what's happening?
Yeah.
Nothing happens.
Okay.
It tells you how much memory it holds when you declaring it. It's not that if you don't put it holds 10. So right now, if I don't put anything, it's 10 by default. Obviously, it can change. Sometimes manipulating or considering the memory size you wasting or spending on something is important, as you know. All right, so let's go. And one of the things then there is, you always gonna know what the size of this, right? So you always can check the size. So the size of, oh, this is not Python. the size of the list is name plus name dot size. So this is different. Oh, what is the name of this? Name list. Sorry, my bad. So with array, you just use the length as a parameters. It's green. It tells you the length. Here is a method. Actually, go get the size. So in this case, size is 3. If you add one more name, size would be, let's add another one. Let's go Ronaldinho. There we go. Showing off my knowledge of Brazilian national team here. There we go. Is that the wrong one again? How do you write the?
Just the last I.
This one?
Is that 8?
Oh, there we go. Not bad though. Like it's retired. I'm an old guy. What do you want from me? That's what I know now. Yeah, retired. This was pretty good. So here we go. So now size is 4. So it's just adapt to the size. You know the size. How do you get the first one? Let's say I don't want to see all of it. I just want a first name. So we're gonna do that. The first name is what is the first name? You gonna call the name list. So you call your array list, and then there's a method called get, and it follows the index. So the first name index is 0. Same concept, right? So if I want the sum, here we go. You're just gonna see that. Obviously. Can I do this? Can I, when I get the first one, then I'll go dot and basically now I'm in the string again. I can see the h if I want. So this is gets me to the sum. Then I'll add character add at the end of it and get the h if I need to. So let's go back. Here we go. So this is gives me the name. So let's write another one. So tell me what is this gives me. So your dot get. So we dot took me a while what I was doing. So this is a space. Gives you nothing. Because here you go. So you go, you get the, this is a 0, this is a 1. So this is a 0. Let's go there. 0. This is a 1. This is a 2. And then inside of that you go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which is the space. Let's make it a little bit fun. Make it 7 that we see a J overall. Here we go. Hopefully you got the idea. So let's say I have a list right now, right? And it's 3 names in it, and I'm trying to add more stuff to it. So now I'm trying to add more stuff or names, since this is a string, to the list. How do I do that? So we're gonna go name list. So we're gonna call it, and guess what? It's add. And let's say I'm adding. No, we did the add. Sorry. So we add Marshall to this, and this is go at the end. Yeah, I'm ahead of my schedule. So now if I print the name list. You see the Marshall added. So the question is, I don't want to add it here, right? So anything I'm adding, you just go at the end. I want to add it here, let's say. I want to add the name here or any other location. I don't want to just throw things at the end. I just want to be able to add whenever I want. You can do that. Let's try this. So we're gonna go name list dot add, and this time we're gonna say, okay, we give them the location first and say, okay, add, let's say, Tupac to the list, but put it in the location 1. So that would be 0, that would be 1. So pay attention to this. You push it in kind of, so everything would be, from that point, would be shifted by 1. So this is tricky though, if you want to manipulate. So right now the location index would be 0, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So when I do 1, so I'm here, I push the Tupac in. Let me just show you. And then I'm just gonna go name lists. And the Tupac will go to the location 1. Everything else from that point will change or shift to the right or add 1 location to it. So that's why you need to print this out a lot. Therefore, it's easy to print out. Alright, so again, let's do that again. So we're gonna go name list. Let's go wrapper now. So 1. So the Tupac location is right now 1 index wise, and we're gonna add, let's say, Dr. Dre to the list. And what will happen is now when I'm printing it out, everything Tupac now will be in the location 2. So if I print the name list, and you see what happens here. Here we go. So everything pushed now. So if you here, let's say parent name list location, let's say 4 for sake of it. No, sorry, you're gonna use the get. So you're gonna get 4. So which is Ronaldinho, and if you repeat the same line after adding something here, in that case would be Neymar, because Neymar shifted to the Ronaldinho location and just keep forward. So things, this is location 4 at this moment, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But when you add Dr. Dre, everything from Tupac shifted to the right. So gotta be careful with that. Alright. So let's move forward. You also can last topic, then we're gonna wrap it up. So array list for the objects. Beside the strings, you can also list the objects. So we're gonna create the array list, and let's say we're gonna fill it with the object rectangle, rec list, new array list. Rectangle. And let's say 100. This whole 100 memory location here, memory cells. So now let's add 3 objects to the list. So simple enough. You're gonna go reclists dot add. I can even create the object right here. So we're gonna go rectangle. So all those three objects we did before, one by one, name it rect1, rect2, rect3. You don't need to do that. Just create it, throw it in the list, right? So easy peasy. So I'm using all those three constructor that I created before, one generic, one default, and one classic with the name and everything. So just an add new, not new, okay, we're gonna go new rectangle. This one was, let's change the room and everything that you guys don't confuse later when you go through the codes. So let's say 5 and 3, and let's call this Roomba. I don't know. I think that's a vacuum. All right. Oh, always missing an L. I think it's my keyboard. Anyway, so this is a 3 rectangle using all those 3 overpopulated constructor. Then we just add it to the list. So now, if you print, so now tell me, if I print the rec list, what would I see? Why not? Yeah, it's a guess. It's not like that I'm marking you on that. That's a fun part. So guess something.
What is it?
What else? What do you see? All would be printed now. No, it would show. Yeah, it's a memory location.
Or you're calling rectangle.
After all, it's not that intelligent.
It's not about intelligence. It's objects. What are you gonna print?
Because it could like call the override method recursively.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's fun. No, it's Java, man. What do you expect? Anyway, so it tells you the basically the package, big 6, the object, and the rest is just your memory location. So you see there are 3 different objects in there that there is. So let's basically, so what do I do is I'm gonna use my loop, make my life easier in a sense. So we're gonna go 4. Let's go select that, and we're gonna get the size. So let's say I want to print them all, right? So I'm gonna go to my rec list, which is I just learned, and get the size first. So we have the size, and every time, okay, so that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna take them out from the list if you want to print, and you go rectangle. Let's have a dummy rectangle. Dummy. And every time I'm gonna go so that's how I'm gonna print it. I am gonna use a loop, get the size. So in this case the size is 3, so I'm gonna go 0, 1, 2. Every time I'm gonna go get each items on the list and save it in a dummy object from the same class, and then send that dummy into the display to actually shows all the things I need: the name, the size, the whatever I created previously here, if you recall these guys here. So let's go try it. And here we go. So there's a Roomba, there's default, there's generic, and there's Roomba. All is 3, which is those. So it's not intelligent, but we are. So If they get that intelligent, they don't need us, right? So
No.
when we get to the point that AI gonna write codes and then we're all jobless, then we're gonna just chill, have a coffee, and enjoy our day, and get bored. Anyway, so let's save that. I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. We're already ahead of the class, so maybe that's what it is. Okay, so done.